Okay, so good evening, everybody. I'm so excited for this Zoom because I'm pretty sure June 21st marks the first official day of summer. And so what better way to kick this off than talking about that? And so I want you to go ahead. Oh yeah, I see her now. I want you to go ahead and put in the chat, if you have kids at home or do you have anything planned at home or planned over the summer, the next couple of months. Are you working full time? Go ahead and put that in the chat. That way we can just kind of see who we're talking to tonight. And like I said, we're going to get, husbands at home. That does count. That does count. All kinds of entertainment, right? Okay. So I think we're good. So go ahead and put that in the chat. But Taylor, I'm going to go ahead and have you just introduce yourself real quickly for those of you that maybe don't know her. And then Amanda, I saw you hop on. So I'm going to have you introduce yourself after she's done, and then we'll jump into the content.
Hey friends, what's up? My name is Taylor Kaufman, Presidential Diamond, been with It Works almost 6 years. Oh my gosh, next month is my 6-year anniversary. Holy crap. Started in nursing school. I was working 2 jobs and I said yes on a whim. Literally 30 minutes after she asked me, I was like, yep, sign me up, let's do it. I have lots of debt. I don't know how in depth I'm going with my story. I'm just gonna really quickly. I just said yes on a whim. You guys had no clue that I would still be here doing this full time today, but I'm a retired nurse. This is my main gig. It's been a huge blessing for our family, and so I'm excited to be on tonight with you guys because organization and figuring out scheduling, it's crucial to being successful in this business, and it's something I'm super passionate about. So you're going to get lots of good nuggets from all of us. I'm excited.
Perfect. All right, Amanda, you're already ahead of the game. Perfect.
Hey, hi, you guys. My name is Amanda. I am a registered nurse with 2 kids. And when I started the business, I was definitely overworked and underpaid. I literally thought that I was going to live the American dream. I thought I was going to go to college and I was going to be freaking rich, especially because I was a registered nurse. And working in the hospital, I did get paid pretty well. But as I started to have kids, I realized that I spent a lot of time away. So I worked in the emergency department. And so I worked weekends, nights. As you know, the hospital doesn't ever close. And so I missed a lot of moments. And when my son started kindergarten, I was like, I'm done. I love fast pace. I love all of the thrill, but I wanted to be home. And so I left the hospital. I became a school nurse so that I could work Monday through Friday with my kids, which I was taking them to school. I was picking them up. I was actually working at the school that my son worked at or went to school at. And so it was amazing, but I took like a $50,000 pay cut a year. For the first year we made it, but after that I was considering having to go back to the hospital. And that's when It Works found me. I really didn't expect it to work, but I was like, why not try, right? If you know that you need something to change, I finally realized that in order for something to change, I had to change. And so I jumped in, went really slow, but eventually was able to replace my second job. And so I was able to just work at the school, and everything else was because of this business. I've been able to stay at the school, go on vacation, save, pay off debt, and all of the things. So I'm excited to talk with you guys.
I love it. Okay, so I'm going to introduce myself real quickly and then we're going to jump in. So my name's Erin Tweed. It's not Kelsey Thornton. Kelsey is on here, but I'm still in her Zoom for the night. I am a mom of 3. So when I started this business, I was working full time as a nurse navigator. And next month is going to be 7 years for me, which is crazy. But I remember specifically when it came to the summer months, I had an office that literally had no windows. Like I was in this, I don't know, like we say janitor's closet, but it wasn't like a nice office. Like we kind of just makeshift at the hospital. They put you in whatever rooms that you can do. And that was my space, but I didn't have any windows. So I remember just like walking down the hall and seeing patients and all the things. And I'm like, gosh, like I was jealous. Like I was like, oh, I just want to be outside the building. Like it's so nice out. It's great weather. I want to enjoy everything. And so I jumped all in and started this business with 1 kid. Now we have 3. So life is busy. And so obviously I have a son that is getting ready to go into 2nd grade next year. But he is now home with us. And so life is going to look a little bit different. And so I'm just going to give you guys some kind of background on like summer months and just why schedules are important. Because I think, and if drop a one in the chat if you're a mom or a mom or you have moms on your team, I'm pretty sure everybody could drop a one, right? Even if you don't have kids, this might help you in the future. Okay, so think about it like this, like kids thrive on routine and organization and schedules, right? We know that they're happier, they sleep better, they do all the things like so much better, they behave better. Like it's a huge thing. It's the same thing for our business. And so if you want to make life easier, I'm not saying it's gonna bring in mass amounts of things, but you can also have a very successful business while being able to spend time with your family or go on vacations or do the things, and so that's what we're going to talk about, schedules and routines and why that's important. But I want you guys to know that every person that talks tonight, our schedules are going to look a little bit different. And that does not mean that our tips will work specific times for you. Okay. Everybody's family is different. Everybody's kids are different. I could say, oh, I can work, at this time, but your kid might wake up at 5:45 in the morning. So that may not be a functional time. So take that into consideration, take that to evolve into something that's going to work for you. And even if you don't have school age students yet, or maybe you're not a mom, I can guarantee you're probably going to enroll somebody on your team that's a mom, or you're going to be talking and having conversations. And so you can, or even a dad, okay, kids are home, any of the things. So you're going to come in contact with somebody that, has a different schedule, or they need to have this schedule work in a certain way. And so I'm super excited about that. Okay, let me pull up my notes here. My phone goes into bedtime mode at this time. Okay, so Taylor, what are your tips for creating a schedule, and what does yours specifically look like in this season that you're in? So you just came out of like a big move, moving cross country, doing all the things, you moved time zones. So obviously things have shifted. And then you've got one that's at home with y'all, like, part of the time. So will you talk a little bit about just what that looks like for you?
Yeah. So my schedule, I mean, I thrive on schedule too. Like I have to have some type of consistency in my life, especially since I do this full time. Like I have to tell my time where to go, or I would do absolutely nothing and it'd be 8 o'clock and I'd be like, what did I do today? Right. So for me, I wake up usually at 6:30. I come make my coffee. I listen to like a sermon, or I do my devotional. I spend time with God. I do some journaling in the morning. This is super huge for like mindset, and just like writing and self-reflection is so important to me and in the business. And so I do some time with that. I also usually listen to like a podcast, or I'll listen to a book. Like right now I'm listening to Think Like a Monk. So I spend just that first like hour and a half of my day is like doing that. And that's when I plan my day actually. So a lot of times people plan it the day before. I do better planning it the day of. And so I have like a time block sheet or a time block planner that I use. And it literally just has like a time slot from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I write on my time slot and I say, okay, these are the things I want to get done today. And I write in things that are like personal, like dishes, laundry, like maybe I have to go to the post office or the grocery store. And like I'm just looking for those slots of when I want to try to get some of those things done. And usually if I plan for it, then I try to like stick to it. But obviously every day is different. I don't always do the right things at the right time, and that's fine. But I know my intentions for the day. And that's the biggest thing. If you just go to into your day and you have no game plan, like you're probably not even going to do like anything that you want to get done. And so just having something that you can like, know that these are the priorities for the day, I think is so important to have. And time blocking has been really huge for me. So I do a power hour Monday through Friday at 9 Eastern, which is 8 Central Time, which any of you guys are welcome to hop on if you can do that in the morning time. You guys, I crunch out 100 messages in an hour. Okay. Like that is my like hour messaging where I am getting so many messages out. I message for distributors. I message a lot of host to host messages. I do some follow-ups during that hour. I'm literally messaging 100 people in an hour. Okay. That's a lot of people. And I get my follows done, my birthday messages done on that power hour. And then the rest of the day, I'm just posting. I'm replying to people that I messaged in that morning time. And usually during the afternoon from like 3 to 5, I try to sit down and like really crunch out more host to post messages, especially if I didn't get my 10 up already for the day. That's the time that I just pick every day, 3 to 5. I'm on my phone messaging for host to post to make sure I'm getting those up. but I'm posting to my story and to my page throughout the day, but I'm really getting majority of the work done in that hour in the morning. And then the rest of my day, I'm just responding to people on the go. And that's kind of what my routine looks like.
I I love it. And I think, it is so important to remember that again, each time frame might look different. And so just because maybe 8 a.m. Central does work for you, but let's say like one day you happen to have a kid that gets up early. Don't let that be the reason that you don't hop on the rest of the week. You have to understand too that you have to give yourself grace. Okay. So just because one day schedule didn't go perfect doesn't mean that it should affect every single other day. It's like Taylor said, she sets the intention. She knows what her game plan is. She's getting up and doing those things. And so, if you have kids that are waking up a little bit early, I would encourage you to, if you can, as much as you can, maybe wake up 30 minutes before, because for me, I know, even having, my almost second grader at home, he's busy, he's on the go. He wants to go hang out with friends. He wants to do the things, he wants to go swim and have that intentional time. And I want to give that to him, but I also don't want to look at situations and be resentful because I hadn't gotten my work done. So for me, I'm getting up early, doing my workout, doing some of those seamless things where it's like interacting, getting some messages out, adding to my network, those kind of things. And then the content and other things can happen throughout the day. But if I get the bulk of it done, then I get to be in the moment. I get to be present. Now, obviously, if you have kids or you're around kids, most of the time they just want your attention for a little bit of time, and so what we do for him is like we give him, all right, you got to do 15 minutes of reading, you got to do 15 minutes of this math app. And so that gives me another 30 minutes throughout the day where he's kind of time blocked with different things. And then it comes to communication between me and my husband of like, hey, are you taking him to this baseball thing or what's going on? And so we actually share a calendar in our iPhones. That's just what works best for us, and just figuring out, okay, like where do we have to be and when, what does the work hours look like? And so that's been super functional. So Amanda, what does that look like for you? Because obviously, you normally have the school schedule, but now you're at home full time over the summer. So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I have worked the business full time. I've worked the business with 2 jobs. It's now summer, and last summer, I think I'm so bad with time, but last summer I want to say I had a job because I would make up all the money I lost in the summer by working at an ER. And so this is my maybe second summer completely free. And so it is a little bit different, but I absolutely believe in the quote, if you plan to fail, you fail to plan. You have got to. And I am one that I've always tried to buck the system. Like I've always tried to go around it. And I've always tried to cut corners and take things out and like thinking in my mind if I could work the business different, but you cannot work this business. The people who are at the top tell you how they got there because that is what works. And so you've got to have a schedule, and your schedule doesn't have to look like anyone else's, but you have to at least have a checklist. If you're not someone who wants to time block, or you're not someone who knows exactly when you can do certain things, have a checklist and know that before you go to bed, the checklist has to be done. And so when I'm working full time, I at least have a checklist. I'm really bad at being consistent as far as like my day, not with the business, but as far as like, doing like with a nurse, things are always different because patients are always different, even at the school. And so my day doesn't look like A, B, and C every day, but I know I have to post. I know I have to add. I know I have to interact and things like that. And so I have a checklist, and then I look at my day and figure out when I can get those things done. So I might not know that I can get it done until 5 minutes before, but if I look at my checklist, I know what needs to be done. So at least you have to know what things you have to do every single day. And then as your day progresses, you need to find those pockets of times. And it might look like things like, okay, for instance, nurses don't really take a lunch break. I know when I was in the hospital, I did, but it was quick. And so I didn't really have time to work. At a school nurse, we don't take lunches either. We just work through it because it's almost easier. Like at your job too, if you work in corporate America, sometimes it's just easier not to take a lunch because it's like, why? Like all they do is bother me. All they do is come and find me. So I'd rather just not take a lunch. So maybe for me, it looked like making myself take a lunch, making myself step away because I was owed that. And so now I make myself take a lunch, and on my lunch, I work my business, and I know I'm doing it for my future. And so where I make myself get up early to work my business because I'm knowing I'm doing it for my future. I make myself stay up late. And so where can you find those pockets of time? Not because you're not going to be tired, not because you don't want to go to bed. We all know that you're going to be tired. You want to go to sleep. You don't want to wake up early. Like none of those excuses matter. It just matters that you know, if you do the things now, you're going to get to where you want to go. So for me, I'm a sleeper. I could literally sleep all day, every day. Like I have no problem like going to bed early, staying in bed all day. Like I like to sleep, but I set an alarm and I make myself get up at 8:30, which probably doesn't sound very early to you guys, but it's early for me. So I get up early and I get my number one task, like my number one income producing activity is messaging. So I get that done first because you're going to be able to add, interact, and post pretty easily. You can add and interact and post at red lights, on the toilet, like while you're making dinner, like you can do those things in little pockets. And so I always suggest when you get the 15 minutes, when you get the 30 minutes, when you get the hour, that you spend that time messaging, because that is the number one income producing activity. If you're not messaging, you will not excel in the business. And I mean any kind of messaging. If you're not a cool messenger, fine. If you're not messaging in general though, you have got to be having conversations every single day about the business and about the products, whatever that looks like in your life. So that's what you need to be doing in those 15-minute or 30-minute increments. For most of my team, we work. And for most of my team, it works best if you get up early. Can you set an alarm and can you pull into the parking lot of your job 15 to 30 minutes earlier and send out those host to post asks? You're going to feel so much more productive if you're able to send out messages early. So get a task list, time block it. That helps you. You want to know when and where you can work your business. I know even when I was at a job that we did power hour. And so I took my lunch, you guys, at 8:30 a.m. Not because I was eating, but because that's when I knew we were going to have a power hour. And so I knew I was going to want to message then. Then when your day goes off the cliff or your shit hits the fan, excuse my language, right? You already have the main thing done, which is messaging. And then if you have your posts planned, if you have your content planned, if you have your content stories, you know, I look like this today and I hadn't done anything. And I went ahead and got on my TikTok and did my devotional, because the thing is, you just have to show up. And when you start showing up, it's going to work. So get a task list. For me, a schedule looks like a task list. And before I go to bed, no matter what time it is, no matter how tired I am, no matter how many excuses I have, my checklist has to be checked off before I go to bed. So Taylor's looks like time blocking and getting up early and making sure those tasks are done. And mine looks like a task list because every day is not consistent. And so before I go to bed, I just have to fit those tasks in every day. So finding what works for you, asking your enroller to help you set a schedule or find when those time works good too.
Yes, I love it. Well, I've had a couple conversations, with people that are trying to adjust. And so I'm like, every single day is going to be different. Like, for us, like our kids are staying up a little bit later. And so they're sleeping in a little bit longer. So that's not the norm. Normally they're consistent at 7, but then now it seems like 8 o'clock is kind of crazy. So now, we're figuring out, a transition in that, just because it is different summer sleeping schedules and everything of that nature. And so you have to go with the flow. You have to figure out what's going to work best for you. And so one thing that I used to do when I was working full time is every single night before, because like you said, when you get those 15 minutes, those 30 minutes, you can be a lot more productive in that time frame if you already know how you're going to use that time. So if you go into it and say, okay, I've got 15 minutes here, I'm messaging X, Y, and Z people, amount of people. If you already have, like, I used to write down a list of follow-ups of how many people I was going to follow, but their specific name. That way I knew exactly who I was going to conversate with. I would pre-plan my post. So if I knew, y'all, if you have some posts that go with the products, stockpile those in your notes. Or I saw somebody shared an awesome tip, put those in the boards app so you can pre-plan that. Like, why not make it easier on yourself? Because the product posts aren't going to change. They're really not. I mean, you might talk a little bit different about your coffee or something. Your coffee cup might be different, but if you're posting before and afters or some of those engagement posts, that content's going to be the same. So stockpile those in your notes. That way you have content to post later. Make it simple. And then again, get specific on how many messages do you want to send out in that time frame? Where are you sending the messages? Is it follow-up messages? Is it new messages? Is it host post message? Get as specific as you can. That way, when you get, even if it's 15 minutes, I promise you, you can get a lot of stuff done in that amount of time if you already know how you're going to do it. So if you're going into it and saying, okay, like I've got to message 10 people, you're spending 15 minutes trying to find 10 people to message, right? But if you've already kind of done some back work, you've decided, hey, I'm doing 10 follow-ups, I'm sending out 10 new messages to these new people that are on my Instagram followers, and you can build that content, you're going to be a lot more effective, just because, again, schedules are going to change. And I know it's hard because a lot of times it's like, today I got up at 4 a.m. to go to cycle, and my husband's like, people are like, how are you doing that back from vacation? I'm like, I didn't want to. I did not want to get up that early, but I knew I had stuff that I wanted to get done. And so that way, Finn had something this afternoon, and I knew that that was going to take into my work hours. So I'm like, I've got to get stuff done. That way I can have it all, right? And so it's not always fun getting up at that time, but that's just what works for us in our schedule right now. Okay, so the next thing, Taylor, what are your tips for organization? And I'll go ahead and have you touch on this too, so you can kind of, and I know we're gonna share the task list again. We've shared it before, but what are those specific daily tasks that you're making sure that you've gotten complete? So how do you keep it organized, and what are you specifically doing each and every day?
Okay, so there's like a million and one ways for this to work. Some people love apps, some people love just plain pieces of paper, some people need like a planner, some people need all the things. I've done it all. I've used an iPad, I've used paper, I've used my computer, I've used everything. And you're going to find what works for you, but just stick to that thing. Like, if you have something right now that you're using, like keep using that and like let that work for you, and just decide that that's what you're going to use. But for my potentials, I have just like a tracker planner that I write all their names down. Usually when I'm working and I'm sending out those messages on Facebook, that's when I'm writing people's names down. A lot of times when I'm going back through my inbox, that's where I go to message a lot of host to post people. I scroll way back in my inbox to people I haven't talked to for months, and I'm finding these conversations that I missed and that are potentials, and I'm adding their names to my list. And as people that I'm talking to, like if I'm out and about or whatever, I'll screenshot our conversation and make sure that I add their name to my list later, and then I delete the picture. Like I do that. I know Amanda does that too. But for potentials, that's just how I stay organized. I put it all in writing, because if I lost my Facebook tomorrow, like I still want to have names on paper, right? Like I want to know how to find these people. And so I don't just rely on Facebook messages. Like that could go away tomorrow. Like I want to have their names, and I want to know like who those potentials are. So I track them there. For my list, I'm my planner, I put all like my daily activities on it. But I do birthday messages every day. Then I ask them to host a post for me. That's an easy transition. I add 50 new friends on Facebook, follow 100 people on Instagram. I post to my story about the products. I post to my wall about the products every day. I'm showing myself use the products. I'm posting about the business opportunity every single day on my story, on my wall. My goal is to get 10 host to posts up every day. That doesn't always happen, but that's my goal. I usually shoot to get like 6 product posts up, a couple giveaway posts up, and then maybe 1 or 2 business posts up. But like I said, I'm not perfect, but I do shoot to have those conversations at least, because when you're getting those host to posts up, you're turning around and asking those people if they're interested. And so I don't even care if the post blows up. I care about having that doorway into the conversation with that person that posted for me. That's where the magic is. Like, yeah, it's cool if their post blows up, but I'd rather have that conversation with the person that's posting. So it is my goal to get those 10 posts up. So that usually takes, some days it takes 20 messages and I get 10 people to post. Some days I have to message 50 people or 60 people to get those 10 posts up. So every day looks different for that, but I do try to keep messaging until I at least have my 10 up. So I have like a thing to kind of track how many times I'm showing up on TikTok and Reels. I don't do it every day. I would love to do it every day, but I typically try to get at least like 3 to 4 a week TikToks and Reels up. And so I just track like how much I'm doing of that each week. And then following up with people from the day before, checking my polls, making sure I'm reaching out to the people engaging on my stories, and self-development every single day. And really the only messages I'm sending every day are host to post or business opportunity or follow-up messages. But I'm definitely doing all of those. And that's all through my Power Hour. I can get a lot of that done in 1 hour. So you don't have to have all the time in the world, but if you can find an hour in your day or 30 minutes in your day to knock out a lot of that stuff and just being intentional, you can get so much done.
Yes, and if you guys didn't see on the 2021 focus page, I just put, it'll say Summer Boom organization tips. I went ahead and dropped her daily task list in the comments. I finally found it. I was trying to search for it, and it says I can upload a file here, but it's not letting me. So it's in the comments for y'all there, so that way you guys can use it. And we'll also drop her Power Hour info, so that way if you haven't plugged in, or even if you know you can only do it a couple days a week, it is better than nothing. And then you can adjust your schedule as needed, you know, going from there. All right, Amanda, same thing for you. What are your tips for organization, and what specific tasks are you doing each and every day?
Yes, ma'am. So biggest tip with organization is you've got to do it. You have got to do it. If you can master organization, you can master the business. I do not know how many times I've fallen short. I do not know how many conversations I have fallen out of. And messaging my friends list, I love it because I'm finding those people. But if I would have got into organization a while ago, I would have never missed them. And so I'm telling you, when promos come out, when half off DT kits come out, when any of that stuff comes out, the reason you see people mass enrolling is because they have things written down. You've got to get organized. So like Taylor said, whether you want to do it on an app, whether you want to do it pen and paper, whether you want to get a fancy planner, whatever you want to do it and find what works, but you've got to do it. You cannot get around it. There is no shortcut. You've got to have a follow-up list, and you've got to try to track your host to post. The two main things that I organize, because I'm not very green, I like it when I do it, but I'm just not very green. But the two things that I tell my team that we want to master is tracking your host to post and tracking your follow-ups. And so that is, if you want to start somewhere, start with those two things. The reason you want to track host to post is because I ask every single person who hosts to post to join my business. And then the second reason is because most people who say yes don't post. And so you can right away anyway. And so you can get a lot of host to post up on those days that you're not working, like Friday or like Saturday when you're doing like a half Sabbath or you're spending time with your family. You can still get up 10 host to post by going back through your host to post tracker and seeing who has and has not posted for you. And so during the weekend, I hit it really hard Monday through Thursday, sending 100 messages a day, getting up 10 host to post. But then on Friday and Saturday, I can go back through my host to post tracker and I can get up 10 host to post a day just from sending a follow-up message. And I can drop it in the comments really quick. But I just send this really quick. And honestly, everybody gets busy. So you have to remind yourself that it's not about you. People aren't hooked to their phone. They don't work from their phone like us. And so it's not about you. They forgot, they got busy. They read your message and put it aside. So I never hesitate to follow up, and I never hesitate to send someone another message because they just got busy. Take yourself out of it and just do your job. And so you've got to do your host to post tracker. That's my biggest organizational tip, is that and follow up. So what I do for follow-up, because I'm not perfect, is every single time I message someone, I do like an intro message because I want them to answer me. So I've tried messaging a bunch of different ways where I just go ahead and tell them like, hey, I saw your comment, here's the skinny blue, and I go like all into it. I've tried that. I've tried all the different ways. What I like to do now is get a response first. And so I'll say something like, hey girl, I saw your comment on my coffee post. Do you drink coffee? Something really, like that they're going to answer, because I want them to message me. As soon as they message me, they're a potential forever. Hey girl, I saw your comment. Have you ever thought about making money from your phone? I want a yes. I want a yes to any question that I have. As soon as I get that yes, that's when I screenshot. Because I'm not perfect and I'm not working from home yet, I'm not always around somewhere I can write down names. So I screenshot. And sometimes it takes me 2 days to write down the names, but I know if I have a picture in my phone, they have not made it to my follow-up list. So 2 days from now, 3 days from now, when I finally get the time to sit down, I'm going to go to my screenshot album and I'm going to write down the name of every single person I talk to and whether they're a product PLC in the product or a PDT. And then I'm going to delete the picture. So I know if I've deleted the picture, they're on my follow-up list. If I still have the picture, they're not on my follow-up list. And so I do that as soon as they say yes, because again, they want information. It's just a matter of time now. Are they going to finally see a post? Are you going to wish them happy birthday and that reminds them the order? Are you going to follow up with them? So on and so forth. And so if you want to start somewhere, I would start definitely with your follow-up list. I just have it, like I have the hole punch one for follow-up and a hole punch. I bought Taylor's Massive Action thing and then I used it for the month. And then I took like the main concept and then made one for, potentials, and then one for my host post trackers from eSuite. And it's just a running list, right? It's literally just a running list that I keep with me all the time. And then the things that I do, I just like to say the core 4 because it's easy for my newbies to learn. It's literally the same things that Taylor said. I just have like in a little bit easier to speak it. But it's the core 4 plus one more. So the first one is adding to your network. My tips are going to be set a timer. Set a timer. You have to tell your time where to go. Literally, when I first started the business, I felt like I was on my phone all the time. I was like, oh my God, I work the business all day long. And then when I started tracking it, I wasn't working the business all day long, right? Like you literally think you're working the business all day long, but unless you're telling your time where to go, then you're probably not working the business as efficiently as you should. And so for all of these core 4s, I set timers and I make sure that they're done. And like Taylor said, you can get this done in an hour a day, literally. Good content in an hour a day. I like to say 1 to 3 hours a day is how you can run your business. But the first core 4 plus one more. So the first one is adding. And I'm going to set a timer and I'm going to add as many people as I can in that timer. I normally do 5 minutes on Facebook, 5 minutes on Instagram. Normally it comes out to about 25 to 30 people on Facebook, 50 to 100 on Instagram. But I'm going to set a timer and I'm only going to do that task. When you're working your tasks, only focus on that task. I am not answering anyone back, including my team, when I'm working my power hour, because I want to make sure that when I'm working, it's intentional working time. So first is adding, set the timer, add to your network. The second is interacting. This is such an important task. Adding and interacting don't produce money right away, but if you fall short in adding and interacting, your market will go stale. You will feel like you're at the end. You will feel like you have nowhere to go, and you will feel like, oh, the business isn't working. If the business isn't working for you, it's most likely because you haven't got fresh fish and you haven't been interacting. And so these are 2 that you cannot take out, but aren't going to produce money right away, but you've got to do them. So the second is interacting. I set a 10-minute timer and I go and interact literally down my wall. I make an act or an action with every single person I see that's not in the business. So if I'm in my intentional interaction time on my timer and I see Erin Tweed, I'm not interacting with her. If I see Taylor Kaufman, I'm not interacting with her. If I see, Megan Carter, I'm not interacting with her. I'm only interacting with people I do not know, and specific to someone that I've never seen before, I'm doing a comment, 1 to 2, like an actual sentence. And if I can, I'm asking them a question. So I'm interacting with every person for 10 minutes. If I did that, if I happen to get 2 power hours, the second one, I'm going to sort my friends newest to oldest, and I'm going to interact down my friends list newest to oldest. I'm going to do the same on Instagram for 10 minutes. In interacting, I'm also going to send my birthday messages, and I just have a text replacement. I type B-Day, it sends them a message. When they respond, I say, you're welcome. Because when you're having that back and forth conversation, they're also going to be seeing your post. And so the third is going to be posting. And when I say posting, I mean on your wall and in your stories. Every single day, you've got to turn on your open sign. Every single day, you've got to be posting, even if you're not at your best. You can recycle posts. You can literally find posts anywhere and everywhere. You have no excuse not to be posting. You should have stockpile pictures in your phone. So when you look like I do today, you can still post a picture because you have them saved. I get dressed maybe 1 time a week and I can get all of my content in 1 time a week. That's for stories. That's for when you're recording your coffee, you don't have to put your face in it. You have absolutely no excuse not to be posting. Your story should be full. Your page should be full. You should be talking about yourself. You should be talking about the products, and you should be talking about the business. And those first 3 tasks can be done literally any time of the day. The fourth one is the most important, and that is messaging. With messaging comes host to post and follow-ups, DT asks, LC asks, all of the things. The goal of messaging is to be having conversations every single day about the products and about the business. So that's the core 4. The one more is self-development. Do not skip this step. If you are thinking about quitting, or if you're thinking you're in a crossroads, or if you're thinking you're not good at this, your mistake is self-development. If you're stuck at Ruby or stuck at Diamond or stuck at Double Diamond, your mistake is self-development. The reason I can say little quotes and have positive things to say to my team is only because I started reading reading books and listening to podcasts. I know you feel like you already have no time. I went and bought a shower speaker, and I now listen to my audibles in the shower. And that has been, I've finished already almost 3 books in the shower because I've started this. So I don't have a commute to work, right? And so I do it in the shower. So you can find the time, just like the rest of the tasks. You got to tell your time where to go. So add, interact, post, message, self-development every single day.
I love it. Well, and it's funny that you say that because I have a shower speaker, but a lot of times with working out super early in the morning, Kyle would not be happy. So what I've been doing is like putting in my ear pods, then I put a towel on my head on the days that I'm not washing, and I like try and hover them in there so that way I hope that they don't get wet. But you have to do what you have to do, right? But I think, it is so important to just determine what those time frames and things are going to look like. And so I do a little bit of those things. So I am very type A. I don't know if anybody else is like this, where they have the 2 memes and it's like you have 20,000 emails or you have 0. I'm the 0. I do not like notifications. So I actually use Google Tasks. It's an app. And I set different functions. And so that notification has to go off. And I'm just telling you guys, that's what works for me, because I don't like things like pinged on my phone. I like my phone to look crystal clear. I like to have responded to things. It's just like my personality. And so that's what works for me in some of the schedules. Like sometimes it's sending out it's saying, okay, send out 10 messages, or, post at this time, product post, or TikToks and Reels, upload those. So those things, if I already have that, knowing that it's going to pop up, that's the reminder, like, oh, I got to post that. Now, sometimes I'm ahead of the game and I'm like, oh, I can clear that off. But if you need something like that, there's a ton of different apps. I know that I think there's another one called like Basic Tasks or Tasks something. So you guys can figure out and see what method looks best for you. But then again, it's going off that list and saying, because again, I like to cross things off. So if you need like the printed version, for me, I have a little notebook that sits here at all times. And so when I come into my office to work, I'll sit there, go through some of my messages and conversations and write down names. That way, when I spend time, going through messages and sending out follow-ups, I have that hard list where nobody's slipping through the cracks. Because that's the thing, especially if you're getting messages on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and text messages and different things, it's like, oh my gosh, how do I keep track of it? And so you just have to figure out the method that's going to work best for you and your brain. You can take bits and pieces of all these amazing things. So you guys have gotten, that task list that's shared in there in the 2021 focus. I also did upload a host to post tracker. So if you want that printed out version, you can do that. Like for me, I write down their name, and then as soon as they actually post it on their wall, then I highlight it. Because
Can I share something really quick?
yeah.
Okay. So Apple users, where my Apple users at? There is a reminders app in the Apple that is just a reminders app. This is something that I started a year ago, and I've stuck to this system because it's literally the only way I keep up with my customers. But you can create like a list in here, and I just have a list that says current customers. And so anytime I sign a customer, like I just signed a customer today, I go to my customer list, and you can set a reminder to remind you monthly, every 3 months, however much time frame you want to have it remind you. And I put the date that they enroll and their name in that app. And then I set a monthly reminder to remind me a couple days before their auto shipment goes. And so what's cool about that is if you have a MacBook too, or a Mac computer, those notifications will show up on your Mac. So like right now I'm looking at my screen and I have all these like reminders to follow up with people. And so it's kind of cool to see it like on my computer and my phone. And that's how I stay in touch with my customers. And even when their auto ship is off, I'll change that monthly reminder to every 3 months. And so that way I'm still like seeing those alerts and I'm not forgetting people. And it's been so much better to have that intentional like method to keep up with my customers. So I like that.
Well, that's what, even if I'm having a conversation, they're like, oh, I'm going to get back in town on this date. Like I had a customer that she was like, I'm getting back in on the 20th. I set a reminder to go off at 9 a.m. on the 20th. So that way I knew I would follow up with her on that day, because I'm not going to remember specifics, right? Because we're busy, we're doing all the things. So for that to go off and just alert me, and I have to cross it off, because again, I don't like the little number one. I don't like those things. And so that is like the beautiful thing, is just figuring out what's going to work for you. And so anything else that you guys want to add, because I know we covered a lot of information and some of it might seem like, oh my God, duh. But here's the thing, like if you can fine tune your schedule, and again, and every single day is not going to be perfect. It's not going to be, go with the flow. We all know like kids nap at different times or stuff happens, all that kind of stuff. But the more time that you can control and decide, so even if it's getting up a little bit earlier, if it's staying up a little bit later for you, like whatever's going to work for you in your schedule, do that, figure that out of what it's going to look like. And again, learn to give yourself grace, because each day is different. And so if you want to, go, if you already know like, hey, we're going to have a play date at the pool, that's a reason to get up early. And so you can get your work done. That way you can be intentional. Like, because I can't tell you how many times when I first came home, I was like, oh, I'm going to send messages out by the pool. No, if you have a toddler, and even if they have their floaty on, they're running all around, or even if you have kids that are older, they're like dunking each other and all kinds of things. And so you're busy watching that, you can't really be intentional with your work time. But if you got up a little bit earlier, sent out your messages, did your follow-ups, did all that stuff, then you get to be intentional with that time with your kids, and then you can have some more follow-up. So it's just really getting specific. And I know you guys have heard that so many times, but it's so important, especially, during these summer months, because this is the time that's going to prep you for the fall. The fall is the time that's going to prep you for, the beginning. We know we've got a conference coming up in September. And so we know that they're always going to be bringing something. So prep yourself now. Be thankful that you did it now for whatever comes in September. That's what's going to prep you for those months. And so anything else you guys want to add? If not, we'll go ahead and close it out. Okay, she's got another thing. I love it.
Sorry, I'm so annoying. You guys are probably like, I'm done listening to you. But okay, this has been huge for me, even just in the season that I've been in. But having a sideline as an accountability partner, but not just someone that's just like, hey, how's it going? But like actually holding you accountable to your enrollments has been so clutch for me. She's someone on a totally different team. She's a presidential diamond, and we just bop in every time we're signing someone. We're texting each other, like we're making sure we're getting our host to post up. We're making sure we're getting our TikToks up. It's not necessarily like messaging and growing our market, but like the things that like we struggle with, like I struggle with doing my TikToks, and I struggle with host to post, getting those up. And so that's the thing that she knows. Hey, how many host posts did you get up today? And I'm like, okay, let me get a message. Hold on. And so if you need an accountability partner, and like, that's okay. Like I need an accountability partner sometimes in this season. So like, don't be afraid to ask your upline, like, hey, help me find someone. Sometimes I would rather you have a side or like a sideline as an accountability partner, not necessarily someone on your team, because it's just better, I think. But ask your upline to set you up with someone if you need that, because it's so fun and it's nice to get that kick in the booty, and just to have someone to like hold you accountable.
Love it. I have a quick tip too. So I want to say 3 quick things. The first one is I struggled with this a lot in the beginning, is when you are working, especially if you have a family, a husband who doesn't understand what network marketing is, or kids, when you're on your phone all the time, that's something that can be frustrating, and that's something that can be a point of conflict between you and your kids or you and your spouse. So when you're working the business, I want you to be super intentional with your time, and I want you to make everyone around you aware that you're working your business. And so we can get caught up like scrolling on TikTok, or we can get caught up, and that could be our fun time. We could have already worked our business, and we're doing this for relaxation. So I want you to remind yourself and your family when you're working your business, so that they don't think because you're on your phone, you're always working your business. So you're never present because you're working your business, when in reality, you were just scrolling TikTok, right? So now my husband and my kids know when I'm working the business. And so they don't think, because before, when I was on my phone, they thought that I was working my business. So to them, I was always on my phone, but I wasn't in fact working my business. And so I think it's important that, and for yourself, because again, you can feel like, oh, you're always on your phone. You're always on your phone, and on your phone in your mind is working. I'm always on my phone. I'm always working, but my check was $50. But were you really working? Oh, I'm always on my phone. I'm never present with my kids. I'm never present with my husband. I'm working. I'm on my phone. but you're never really working. And so make sure that you know, your family knows when you're working. Have those times set aside. Have that power hour set aside. Have that power 30 set aside. Let your family know, okay, while dinner cooks, I'm going to send out 20 messages. You know, let everyone be involved in the process so that you can really understand when you're working your business, and it's not just linked with when I have my phone, that's when I'm working, because most of the time you're probably not working. The second thing is you have got to tell your time where to go. You can't get around this. This Zoom was about schedule and organization. You cannot get around this. You have got to find a way to do this if you want to be successful with this business. So find something that works for you. I don't know what that looks like for you. Look at your day. If you work a Monday through Friday, it's probably going to look the same. You know what time you have to leave your house, right? You know what time you have to clock in, right? You know what time you get off work, right? So pick those things that are consistent, like what time you have to be at work, and then back it up 20 minutes. And that's where you do your messaging. Get those hardest tasks for you. So for like Taylor, my hardest is post to post. Not my hardest because now I'm off for summer, but it's the one thing, like I can add, interact, and post in my sleep. I see my entire life in posts, right? So I can do those things with no problem. But messaging and getting up those post to post is my hardest task as well. And so those are the things that you want to make sure you have on your schedule. And so know exactly when you're messaging tomorrow. So right now, I want you to know exactly when you are going to message tomorrow. I have a mom who is pregnant with her second. She's probably on here, but she's busy and she can't work at work. So when she's at work from 8 to 5, she's at work. She cannot work her business from 8 to 5. And then when she gets off at 5, she has a family. So she has to feed, she has a son. Like, so she has the things, you know, you can use them as excuses or not, but she has the real things that she has to do every single day. And she's pregnant, so she's tired. So we've had to find a way for her to set a schedule to wake up early. Because as much as she wants to sleep, she wasn't getting the tasks done at the end of the day. It just wasn't happening. So she has to get them done before the day starts. So she knows she has got to get to work 30 minutes early and message, because the only task that wasn't getting done was messaging. Because again, you can add and interact and post pretty easily, but I want you to know when you're going to message. And I always start with post to post messages, and then I go on from there. And then the last thing is set a goal and get to it. And so know where you're going and do a hard self-check in the mirror. I promise you, if you're not getting results, you are falling short somewhere. Every time I fall short of a goal, I don't blame the business. I don't blame my team. I don't blame the things around me. I look in the mirror and say, you could have messaged more. How much did you really get done? And that's where tracking comes in. You think you did like this amazing job of working, and then you go look at your follow-up list and you added no one. You literally had no conversations today. Well, that's not okay if you're really trying to grow a business. And so I want you to self-reflect at least once a week. Do it on the month, do it on the 1st, do it on the 15th, do it weekly if you need to, but really take a hard look in the mirror and allow yourself grace. Tell yourself, like, I listened to Zoom today. I'm kind of late about mindset with Taylor, but it was basically saying, like, when I went to college to be a nurse, like, I knew I was going to college for 4 years. So I didn't I wasn't like, oh, this is hard, I quit. So look at the business like that. Look at it long term. You are never going to make $40,000 a month in the job you're at. I can promise you that. You can do that here. But you just got to have that long-term vision. You just got to have that long-term goal. You just got to stay in the game. You got to stay in the game. Quit like getting mad that you're Ruby for 8 months. Who cares? Go be Ruby for 8 months. And then 2 years from now, make $40,000 a month. There's nowhere like this. You're never going to get that kind of money in corporate America. You're never going to get that kind of money with any type of degree you have. You're only going to get that here in this business. But you got to start doing the things every single day for a long time. Every single day. If you work on Monday and Tuesday, but you stop working on Wednesday and Thursday, you got to start over, sis. So you might have showed up for 1 week this month, but guess what? That doesn't count at all. You can't actually count how long you've worked the business until you've done it consistently. So if you've never been consistent, then you've never worked the business. You haven't. You can't say, I've been in the business for a year, but how long have you worked the business consistently? I've been in the business for almost 4 years, but I've really only ever done the business for probably a year and a half. Because every time you stop, you got to start over. If you stop the microwave with the popcorn analogy, you got to start over. You can't work on Monday and Friday for a year and think that that's working. And so give yourself grace, self-evaluate, know that you are the cause of the pain or the cause of the glory or the cause of the pain, and just be honest with yourself, set a schedule, do the messaging, get up the host to post, get organized with follow-ups and host to post, and rock it.
I love it. Well, we're going to end on that because that was like so powerful. But, again, I want to remind you guys to go use that task list. If you're kind of in the limbo area of like, I don't know what specific things, hold yourself accountable for that, track those things, go to your sponsor and say, okay, look, I need you to hold me accountable or help me find an accountability partner. And the more that you're tracking, you're going to see those results that are happening over and over and over again. And so again, the success doesn't happen overnight, but the consistency over time is what gives you the great results, because at the end of the day, we're all here. I always say the end goal is always freedom. And so whatever that freedom looks like for you, it doesn't just happen in the snap of a fingers. It's like 7 years ago, I just wanted freedom outside of I wanted to be able to look out a window, but now it's like, oh my gosh, I get to create my office view with doing whatever I want to, having the time, but also being able to work from anywhere. And so it can be that thing, but it didn't happen overnight. And so it's putting in the work consistently over time that's really going to give you those results. So thank you, ladies, so much for hopping on with me. Go look at those resources, utilize them, tweak them to whatever you need them to be, ask questions, get information. And yeah, I'm super excited for what's going to happen. Happy first day of summer. It's going to be absolutely amazing. But if you need help, like I said, reach out, ask questions, ask people, what works best for you, figure out that timeline and just game plan it. And you guys will have amazing success. So I hope everybody has a great night and we'll see y'all later. Bye, everyone.